Thanks for joining us for the Long Island Sound podcast. Each week we explore new music and dive deeper with the artists and their stories behind the music. Please subscribe and rate and review us wherever you stream this podcast. Here's your host, Steve Yusko.
I have an unbelievable episode with you today. My guest is Tyler Ransom. And let me tell you, this is a come from behind story where music literally saved Tyler's life. And what a guitarist he is. It's a mix of jazz and fusion and rock and roll. He's a young man with a really bright future and a great story and a documentary as well. So if you're interested in these come behind stories, you've come to the right place. Check it out.
You should have seen how it was back then. I lived my life biking with my friends, and I fell in love with the sound of it. The world never felt so real. It came along and it moved quite fast. December came, thought it wouldn't last. A brand new groove and I fell right in. And my world never felt so real. And I know you know it hurts to grow. And I know you know it hurts to grow. I know you know it hurts to grow. I mean, someone has to.
This is Steve Yusko from the Long Island Sound podcast. Obviously, I'm really excited about today's guest, Tyler Ransom. It's a really great story behind music, how it heals the world, and how it can be used as a vehicle to overcome difficulties in life. And Tyler will get into that. He's a singer-songwriter, a guitarist with a steeped background in jazz, blues, rock and roll. We'll get into his music. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And I want to welcome Tyler Ransom to the Long Island Sound. Welcome, Tyler. Good to have you, brother.
Hey, Steve. Thank you for such a kind introduction. That was awesome.
I know. Now you got to live up. Now you got to live up to it, man. So bring it on home. You know.
Sort of.
So you said. So you're going to school still. Tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll get into your story. And then there's a film about you, too, which is kind of cool. I didn't get to see it, but I heard about it, called In the Shed, which we can tie a lot of phrases to that. So tell us about school. What are you doing in school? Where are you going?
Yeah, so I go to the new school here in Manhattan, New York. I'm a third year. I'm a double major in jazz performance and literature. So that's pretty crazy. I play guitar in the morning, then in the afternoon I go and study Shakespeare. It's a really lovely thing. I get to practice my writing and my shedding, so it's 2 in 1. And I I really love it, and it's beautiful to be in a place that supports my passion.
And you know what it brings to mind is I'll never forget my guitar teacher says, you got to go woodshed that, and I'm like, what do you mean? It was just more of a friendly term than practice. So
Right.
So you throw in every morning you're grabbing your axe and practicing.
Every morning I grab my axe, and then I go on the subway with my case and everything. And then I practice. I woodshed
Yeah.
for about 3 hours. 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, 3 hours at night.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a lot. It's a lot of work, but it makes me happy.
Oh, that's good. And then you throw school on top of that. So I'm sure you got to thank you for giving me the time to do the podcast.
No, it's so exciting. I love talking to people about music. I love connecting with people. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing about music that always grabbed me, it's one of those common denominators that no matter where we are in this great divide of the country, unfortunately, music can kind of really get us together, and bring us back into community, and especially after quarantine. There's a hunger for, hey, just being out and experiencing live music with people, and that's one of the things that I'll speak the gospel of. Hey, you know what? You can see somebody on social media for 30 seconds and go, wow, that guy can really do it. You got to see him live because it's a total different experience, especially the interaction with the crowd. So let me ask you this. When did you first get the inkling of, hey, I want to do this or I can do this? And when did it kind of hit you that this is going to be your profession?
Well, when I was in middle school, I was in jazz band and I played saxophone. And,
Okay.
and I was into it, but I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna do this. It was just something that was more so a hobby rather than a passion.
Right.
And then come about 8th grade, I have my big afro because I didn't like going to get my hair cut. Someone called me Jimi Hendrix, and I was like, what? What is that? I came across YouTube, and I came across a video of his performance where he smashes his guitar and lights it on fire. And it was crazy to me because all I've known at this time is just smooth jazz, Miles Davis kind of blue type of thing. So to hear this was like, you can do this. This is allowed.
Right.
And the following week, I was like, Mom, Dad, please let me get a guitar. And they gave me a beat up Fender acoustic from Craigslist.
Okay. Nice.
And I remember the first time I held it, I was like, okay, so this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, I
Really?
understand now. It was one of those instantaneous connections, I couldn't get out of my hands. If you ask my dad, it was like that first year of me playing guitar. I just locked myself in my room and just every day I was like, how do I know the ins and outs of this?
Right. Yeah, that's what I find so interesting about the guitar. Me, and I'm curious about this with you, is understanding the neck and the tonal qualities and all that. It's still a mystery to me of how notes are placed and the different methods to do things to get and understand it. Was it difficult for you? Did obviously you got obsessed with it, right? This is where I am.
Did.
And so how did you feed that obsession with learning the instrument, I guess? Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. I think because I started only knowing jazz, so when I went straight into Jimi Hendrix, that sort of branched out to just all these different guitarists that I've never heard of because I was so fresh to it. So
Right.
I was just listening every day and picking up on things I was listening to. And that really helped my understanding. So I think my parents thought that after a year this would die down.
It's just a phase.
It was just a phase because they were very stubborn. They were like, let's not get you lessons yet. That's a big commitment. You have to earn it. So
Okay.
I think after that whole year of shedding, and they were like, oh my God, he's not going to stop. They sort of had to give in. And I had about one teacher for about 6 months until I found a guitar teacher in the area where my dad goes to get coffee. And
Okay.
his name was Mr. Kim, and I really have a connection with him, and I was on and off with him for about 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
And
Wow.
other than that, it was really just myself.
Oh wow. Is when you have that desire, you'll pull things together. But it's also interesting. I mean, I think about the teachers and professors that I've had in my life, and the ones that influenced me, that made me love to learn. And I think that's the key. If they have a love for it, I still remember my piano teacher, a lovely lady, Mrs. Wallace, but we just didn't connect. Maybe because I wasn't focused.
Shout out Miss Wallace.
Yeah, she's somewhere. Yeah, I'm sure, way past. But and she had patience, so I'll give her that. And you know what? The other thing I'm learning too in interviewing a lot of artists is they're teachers as well. They take their craft and they're teaching other people, how to do it, which is I think just wonderful. It just really kind of spreads the word about the music. And just let's talk about Hendrix for a minute. What's interesting to me about Hendrix is in different perspectives, when you may first hear Hendrix, you might be like, whoa, this is really whack, and stuff like that. And the fact that he's a left-handed guitarist playing a right-handed guitar upside down is a great metaphor for how he brought sounds out of an instrument that nobody else heard before. And he really explored that. I mean, if you ever listen to the thing he did at Woodstock, which was, I think, the Star Spangled Banner or something like that, where he made it sound like jet engines and stuff like that. It was just kind of floors you when you think about what a great imagination, he had to expose that to his craft. So anyway, I digress. So coming into the program today, our audience heard Rosewood. So if you want to just tell us, how that came about for you, how you approached the muse with that particular song, I think they'd be interested in that.
Of course. So I think I've been writing songs, I guess, since I picked up guitar when I was 13, 12,
Okay.
that age range. And the guitar was always a mechanism for me to express myself. And as I've grown older and developed my voice, I found a lot of joy in just not even guitar, but picking up different samples and different sounds and just learning how to play bass and drums and just do everything on my own.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I feel like Rosewood is the first song that's a culmination of all the sounds that have been in my head in an organized way, more
Okay.
or less. It implements, this is the first time I feel like I've proper sampled strings. I have a whole string section that I sampled. On top of that, I have this blossoming guitar solo, which I feel like is maybe some of my best playing. But this was the first song of a handful that I wrote where I was like, wow, I feel like I'm finally starting to understand what I'm trying to say as a musician. Like, I know my stance.
Right. Now, in learning your instrument and also now songwriting, did you also pick up the technology to record as well and mix? It sounds like you did. Like you mix things together. You kind of, you're your own producer, writer, and everything else. Is that what you did?
Of course, Steve. Yes. It's a huge loophole, just finding the right equipment and everything. But, when I first started guitar, all I did to write songs, I just had, like the standard Apple earbuds and just that small
sure.
microphone. That's the
Right.
only thing I record. I recorded my acoustic guitar on that and my voice. And it's really just the bare maximum. That's what Steve Lacy says, who I listen to a lot. But it's really that, making the most of what you have. I
Sure.
have a lot of friends come over and they're like, you're only using one microphone? Or they're like, where are all your pedals at? And it's
Right.
like, it's just ruling out what is a necessity to you and really just honing in on the bare maximum, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny when you say, where are your pedals at? As a knucklehead guitarist myself, early on when you should be woodshedding and learning all your exercises and scales and what have you, and then you get this shiny pedal that's like, this will make me a wonderful guitarist, and stuff like that. And I love the fact that you start out basically the opposite. No, let's learn the craft, and let's learn what I can do with the bare guitar, and then kind of go with it, and then I can experiment with things. But it's interesting too in that what I found, particularly with this podcast, I struggled with my room in that I'm like, oh, there's like a weird echo, and I have a small office here on Long Island, and I had a inexpensive microphone because I had no budget, and I eventually saved up and bought a decent microphone, which I have now. But I had a friend tell me, he goes, yeah, it's not your microphone, it's your room. It's your room. And so I put sound panels up, and he had extra sound panels in his shed, so I hung them up one day, and man, it made a big difference. You're a disaster before you're a master, I guess, when you come down to it.
I love that. A disaster before you're a master. I've never heard of that.
I'm still waiting to become a master, so it's eventually maybe. Hey, let's do this, Tyler. Let's just take a quick break, and when we come back, I really want to expand upon the movie that you did, your story. And which I think is a fantastic story of overcoming struggles. And I'll leave that as a bit of a mystery for our audience who don't know you yet. And we'll be right back with Tyler Ransom. Hang with us, everybody. There's a lot more to come. At the Long Island Sound, we're much more than a podcast. We're building a community. Please go to gigdestiny.com. Check out all our social media links. Subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast. Please comment. Call the listener line. Tell us what you think, what questions we should ask, who we should have on the show. And most of all, we thank you for your generous support. And remember, support the artists who are guests on the show. Now back to the podcast. Hey, everybody. We're back with Tyler Ransom. He's got a great story. And I got to ask this. This is coming to my mind, Tyler. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert.
Okay. All right. So I got a challenge to pull stuff out of you. So I got to think about asking the right question. Tell us your story, because it's a beautiful story about overcoming difficulties. And there's a documentary called In the Shed that was done on Tyler about 3 years ago. There's going to be links to it down in the description, so I encourage everybody to go see it. So tell us your story.
Yeah, of course. So when I was about 16 to 18 months old, I was diagnosed with a kidney illness called nephrotic syndrome.
Okay.
And what that basically means, my kidneys shut on and off. The filtering system isn't all the way there.
Okay.
To put it really short, I basically pee out the good stuff my body needs, and the bad stuff stays in my body. And
gotcha.
Sometimes that can lead to huge fluid retention all over my body, where I swell up and gain 15 to 30 pounds of excess water fluid the next morning. My eyes get swollen shut. My legs get so swollen that I can't wear my pants. We call that a relapse. And growing up, I had relapse often, and I had to be put on lots of medication. And it was really hard just trying to just grow up, to have quote unquote normal childhood, when I had to go to the hospital every other week, get blood transfusions done in middle school, and dealing with a lot of that adversity.
Right.
So come about fifth grade, I'm ending elementary school. My father and I had the idea to start a foundation called Healing Tyler. Nephrotic syndrome doesn't have a cure, so our idea was to turn my passion at the time, which was mixed martial arts, which is still my passion, to use that as a vehicle to spread awareness for this disease. So what we would do, this is the early stages of YouTube, we'd find different UFC fighters in their MMA gyms in the area, and I'd pack a bag with my gi and all my medications, and he would bring his camera, and we would go to these different gyms, and I'd roll with these fighters, and then afterwards I'd sit down, take out my medication, and spread awareness about nephrotic syndrome. I would tell them what I go through, the medications I take on a day-to-day basis, and he'd film it and he'd put it on YouTube, and that would sow the seeds of how big
awareness
Tyler would become. Yes.
Nice.
And it became. Oh, what were you going to say, Steve?
No. So, is there still no cure?
There's still no cure yet. No.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
That's all right. But as more and more of these fighters were getting awareness, we realized we were getting a lot of traction. There's this one particular video I rolled with Ronda Rousey, and that sort of brought in a lot of people, because at the time, a lot of people were just hopping on the Ronda Rousey bandwagon. Okay. And we were hearing all these different stories from all these parents and other kids around the world that were saying, Tyler, we have this illness too, and we don't really know what to do. but we see you and your passion for mixed martial arts. And our parents won't let us do exercise, but now we're just walking down the block for the first time today. You know, we're not just staying home. And it was really beautiful because I was like, wow, like there are kids out there that deal with the same things as me, and I'm sort of being a voice for them. And, you know, I come and pick up. Oh.
I'm sorry, I cut you off too. No, and you're setting the example of you can do things, you know. And I think from what I'm hearing, it really started with your parents to encourage you to go out there. But it's interesting that you had parents that said, you know, let's have a battle, literally, right? Literally with the MMA. But really, what you were battling was the can't do it type of thing. And what a great inspiration! So wow, so you're still fighting the fight, right?
Still fighting the fight. But also, yeah, I wouldn't be where I am today without the support of my father and my mother. I have such a great support group and family. I'm very appreciative of it. And then music comes in because I picked up the guitar,
right?
You know, during this while Healing Tyler was, you know, was still finding its footsteps. You know, people are beginning to email. We're starting to make that thing. We're starting to make connections with everyone around the world. And I suddenly found my passion, not leaving MMA and moving to music, but I just found another passion with music.
Sure.
And I found myself in the hospital more in middle school, and I couldn't necessarily, you know, I can't do mixed martial arts in the hospital, but what I can do, I can bring my guitar in and practice. I can look up YouTube videos of Stevie Ray Vaughan and Muddy Waters and just be like, okay, I see what they're doing. Let me implement that when I get healthy. And guitar just became a safe place for me, similar to how jiu-jitsu was a safe place for me. And music healed me, you know.
Yeah.
There were days I couldn't go to school. My eyes were so swollen. But I had Band of Gypsies on vinyl, and I just listened to that, you know, and that healed me. Yeah.
That's great, because what I find so interesting about being debilitated for whatever reason and fighting back and going through, you know, I'm sure it's painful, right? You know, with your joints and what have you. Have things settled down now that you're through adolescence, pretty much, as far as your ability to manage the disease? Is there a way that you can live your life and say, you know, I may rebound from this, but I can manage it to a degree? Is that a fair question?
Yeah, I've definitely learned how to live with it. I've learned to not view it as a weakness, but as just a learning tool for those around me. You know, I haven't had a relapse in a year or so, you know, knock on wood. But when that time comes, you know, my doctors and I are so close. I have them on speed dial.
Right.
But it's become just an extension of myself at this point. Something I'm learning how to still find a balance of
living, right? Yeah. Just living, right? And then just interesting, and being a voice for something that's extremely rare. But you know what? It easily ties into other people that have struggles, okay, or perceived obstacles, and say, yeah, this might be a roadblock here, but you can turn yourself a little bit in this direction and pursue your passions, you know. So I assume you didn't have people in your circle saying, you can't do that. Oh, you know, it's too dangerous, you know. It looked like you probably got more encouragement to do this, and you're a kid. You're a young man. I mean, you got a great life ahead of you. So you know. But do you have to do dialysis or anything like that, or no?
I didn't have to do dialysis, but throughout high school, I did have a few blood transfusions. Not blood transfusions. I had transfusions done in high school.
Okay, is that where they like filter it out and put it back in, type of thing?
That's more so where they have the medication through the IV, and I have to sit in the hospital for about 6 to 8 hours throughout the day, and it's just coming to me through an IV.
Wow, interesting. Wow. And you know what? Thank God we're in New York. They have the best health care, and the best doctors are right here in New York. You don't have to travel, obviously, to get it done. So, all right. So now, So the movie, the documentary is The Shed. Now I'm very intrigued. I want to just stop the interview now and just watch the movie. But, I'm kidding. No. But now, in hearing your story, I'm going to look at your or hear your music in a different light. You know, maybe I'll be interpreting my own soundscapes into it. But hey, let's talk about. I want to jump into your music because you're absolutely amazing. Of what I've heard about you, and being compared to Jimi Hendrix early on, Afro or not, you know, is a high bar to reach. So, tell me about the song "Killing Me," and let's jump right in and have the audience here. And by the way, just let me give you a preamble. I never ask an artist. So tell me, what's that song about? For one reason, that would steal away how somebody might embrace the song into their own story. You know,
of course.
I mean, we know about your struggles, and that's fine. But let me ask you a different way. How did the muse strike you, and what was your process for doing the song "Killing Me"?
I love it. I start all my songs with just me and a guitar in hand. You know how it's always been. And I found these chords that. Let me backtrack. One of the hardest things I found about going to music school was actually feeling inspired. You know, I'm surrounded by such talented players all day long. By the time I go home, sometimes I don't even want to pick up guitar anymore because I'm like, I spend so much time.
Because you're comparing. You do what we all do. We all compare too much, right?
I'm human, yes, and it's I've listened to so much music today that I've had to like listen for like the minor third in it or the specific scale that it's like I'm tired. And I realized coming into music school that I no longer since picking up guitar, my whole thing has become to become the next Jimi Hendrix. You know, I've been chasing that high of like I want to be the best player. I want to do the craziest things. If you look up footage of me in high school, I was playing guitar with my teeth in behind my head because I was so set on becoming the next Jimi Hendrix. And it took me to come to music school to realize, oh, I'm not trying to become the next Jimi Hendrix. My whole thing, I'm not only trying to become myself, but I just want to be listenable at the end of the day. I want to be the artist that I would put on after a whole day of listening to so much music. That means a lot to me.
Going? Oh, I wanted to ask you this question. You talked earlier about finding your voice. Were you talking about your literal voice or how you voice the guitar? Or is it both?
Both. But I would say, especially in my early days, I wasn't even thinking about singing. It was strictly just finding the voice on my guitar. You know, how much I should bend a particular note. How many Jimi Hendrix inspired licks I can do in the span of 10 seconds, you know, things like that.
You said the muse comes to you with the guitar, so it's the melody and the structure of the song that comes first. And then what do you do? Do you search for a title, you search for a theme, you're waiting for it to hit you, like you're playing along and are your thoughts wandering, and you go, oh, this is about sadness or this is about whatever. How did it go in this particular song? Where did you get the lyrics for it?
For me, chords are everything. I hear chords first and things like that. So when I wrote this song and I had the guitar chords done, I just put them on a loop pedal. I was soloing for a bit, and I was like, what do these make me feel? What am I trying to experience with this? And I sort of just wrote words that associated with the feeling I was getting from listening to it. And that's sort of how the song came through. It wasn't very artificial. It was very just natural how it just came to me. I was letting emotion be the guiding hand.
That's cool because in a way that's what guides the audience, right? What emotion, what you emote from listening to it. So that's a great starting point. So listen, I can feel the audience wanting to hear the song "Killing Me." So let's let them hear "Killing Me," and then we'll come back and we'll chat about a few other things. I got lots of questions for you, so I hope you're prepared. Check out "Killing Me." We'll be right back, everyone.
And who said I'll be here in the end? There was in my mind a said we're more than friends. Was it the gigs I know, or all I show? I'll be here still, if you ever will. The path I choose doesn't feel that new, living in a daydream, all that it seems. Its name is anxiety, and it's been killing me, I know. It bends my words, doesn't make me feel hurt, I know, but I won't say so.
Now I've lost myself, where do my thoughts go? I need some time on my own. Had a dream last night we never met, but we were fated to the end. I'll spend the day reliving it, and the next I'll be okay. Don't say its name, I try to forget. I'll hold myself in my bed, plan something new in my head, start a new day. I know I'm okay.
Its name is anxiety, and it's been killing me, I know. It bends my words, doesn't make me feel hurt, I know, but I won't say so.
We're back with Tyler Ransom, by the way, which is his real name. It's not a stage name, I found out. It's really Ransom. So that's kind of cool. But, you know, where were we going? We were talking about influences and during the break between each other, and I was spouting off how I see encouragement. And it sounds like you have beautiful parents and family who surround you, not only through the difficulties, with the kidney disease, but inspiring you to, follow your passions, and that's a great thing, particularly when I think anybody who's got obstacles in front of them health-wise, it's very easy to put guardrails around that person, whether it's the person puts the guardrails around themselves or the people looking to protect them. When, I'm a parent, so we looked at, Debbie and I have a daughter, Faith, who's such a beautiful person, that, my job is to teach her how to fly, And, even though Dad made these different, fell out of the nest a couple of times, being metaphorical here,
Nice.
I still need to teach you to fly, not to just stay in the nest and go out into the world and get these experiences. So I'm so happy about the trajectory of your craft and your life, and I encourage everybody, and I do this with all guests, but really, you're such a phenomenal player, and there's just so much ahead of you. I'm very, very happy for you. Where you can go with your craft and being in New York City. You're surrounded. One, you're going to school for music, so you got all these great musicians around you, and we're always comparing. But then you have the musicians who are playing about town. Tell me about that. Tell me about how you play with other people and some of the connections you've made and what kind of influence it have on you. Like when did you first forget high school? Well, high school wasn't that far away, but when did you go out and really first gig and get paid for it?
Oh man, I did that during high school.
Oh, okay.
Did that during high school.
Suck. Okay.
But my first time here in the city, the first time I ever gigged, I was actually backing up a vocalist friend. She needed a guitar accompanist, and that was my first time ever, not being. This is gonna come across like really like snobby, but this was my first time not being in the spotlight.
Right.
So
Sure.
I had to learn how to play as a support, how to support vocalists that wasn't myself.
Right.
How to not take crazy 10-minute solo, but to just lightly do fills here and there. And
Sure.
that was my first quote unquote gig in the city, and after I got the paycheck in the show, I was like, a little bit of like a jazz guitarist now, It felt
Right.
nice. It felt nice.
Now you got to join the union.
Yeah.
So did you grow up outside of the city?
I grew up in California, Los Angeles.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh God. And then you came here, and what a culture shock.
It was.
I was wondering. You know what? I was wondering, why is this guy so nice? Why is he so pleasant? Now it's coming.
No, I get that a lot whenever I meet people here. They're like, "You would be from LA. You have that.
Yeah.
You have that beach voice."
Yeah, and you know what? And we all nod our head. He'll learn.
Exactly. When I first,
why'd you come to New York? Sorry.
it was for university. I came here for
Oh,
university.
okay.
To be honest, it wasn't even. I was at a prior institution, and I went to UC Davis for a whole year.
Okay.
And I just realized that wasn't for me, and I had no intention of going to New York at all. And then I heard of the new school, and Felder taught there, who was one of my favorite players, and I sort of just packed my bags and I left and went to New York.
Wow. And you know what? You leave your family and your support. Well, I assume family didn't come with you, right? You leave your support system. That freaks them out. I mean, I remember when I first left the house, my mom was like crying, like, I was like 19 years old, didn't know anything, I survived amazingly. But it's a big leap. But now you're at the center of the world, which is New York, and it's really Brooklyn, and Manhattan's like, the sidecar to it. But there's so many great players here. So you're starting to, besides school, are you how do you find the musical community, or not? I don't know. Maybe you're so new to how long have you been in New York now? It's third year, second year?
It's about my third year. Yes.
Third year. All right. So you're starting to get into the community. You meeting other musicians who are out and about, or how's that going for you?
Of course, it's all. To be honest, some of it's centered around other kids that were my age that came from Los Angeles.
Okay.
That I had a few mutuals with, and some of it came from just people in my program and just going with them to shows and bringing my guitar and going to the jam session. That was at the jazz club at next to the venue, like 3 hours later.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just playing. It's so beautiful how supportive we are of one another.
Oh, good.
And
yeah, I agree with you. It is amazing. So I'm not a professional guitarist, and everyone who knows me would say, yeah, he's absolutely not a professional guitarist. But what I found through the podcast is interviewing artists like yourself, and I'm not blowing smoke up your skirt, but very generous. One, we're talking about what we love. And when we're done, they're like, oh, you got to talk to so-and-so. I have a friend who's this. Oh, they have some great stories. And they do see it as a platform to kind of expose their music. And, it's the new YouTube of, wrestling, MMA, hopefully. At least that's what I'm banking on. But I've been getting a lot of referrals, and it's a lot of fun. And they're very supportive, So I've met some really great people. I'm taking out my crystal ball. Okay, Tyler, and I'm looking at him going, all right, this is where this guy's going to go. And I'm pretty on board. And, if I'm not, then, no one's going to remember. So
nice.
So you got a lot on your plate. I mean, you got school, you got to take care of your health. You're woodshedding your instrument 6 hours a day. Unbelievable. I believe you. Unbelievable, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah. So what are your plans?
Oh man, that's the question
Well,
everyone wants.
I'll ask it a different way. What are your dreams?
My dreams.
Yeah.
I'm sort of living it right now. I'm able to
Good
play
answer.
guitar. I'm able to play music and make friends along the way and just follow my own voice. You know, I'm very appreciative that I'm even in this opportunity that I get to live this life, because I know others can't. So I just want to be the voice for them, and I want to keep on writing music that feels true to me, and keep on bringing the guitar into its own world. Yeah.
Well, you notice you're one of the keys to life, and I get on the soapbox every once in a while, so I'm going to apologize right off the bat. But I learned this from my daughter, and she's really good at it. It's really counting your blessings, starting from a position of counting your blessings, particularly when you do that in the morning, can set you on the right path for the day, even in the evening when you kind of go, okay, this is what I did wrong today, this is what I did good today, and let's continue to do good and try not to do the bad type of thing. So once you have that perspective on life, man, the world is your oyster, and to go and attack it. But the other thing I want to bring up too, and this is just an observation, having interviewed younger artists like yourself on the road up, right, on a great journey, and the artists who I look at different silos. I've looked at the artists who've reached their crossroads. They're good at what they've done. They didn't get that huge break, and it became, do I do the nightlife with the music or the family life, because now I have a family and mortgage and that sort of thing. That's one aspect of it. But the thing that keeps continuing is they can still play music with their friends in their community till they're in their 80s and 90s. I'm telling you, it's just, I mean, I've seen all the videos. A guy goes into Sam Ash and breaks out the guitar, and they're like, oh, look at this old guy, and he's like, noodling away, and because he can, and play with his friends. And I think that's a real blessing, when you look at it,
Of course, yeah. That's what it's all about, community.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you're in the music community, and I'm a sidecar in the music community, but I appreciate what people do, and so one of the things that I like about singer-songwriters is that you help articulate things that I've gone through, recall, might be feeling at the moment, and that's with the way that you start music with where's this feeling of the chord driving me, then I'll throw the lyrics in as an interesting aspect, because then it becomes reciprocal, to the audience out there. So that's my whole philosophy on music, and I'll write a short book one day on it. So. Hey, tell us. That. So, you got school, man. You got a lot going on. I'm probably keeping you from your studies, so I apologize. So, are you taking a break during the summer, and or do you continue studies through the summer as well?
Oh no, I have my summer break, but when I was in high school, my jazz band teacher told us that summer is when people don't really practice, so that's when you should be practicing the most. So I'm done with school in the summer, but believe it or not, I get most of my practicing. I really hammer everything down during the summer.
Right. Would you consider playing any festivals and stuff like that during the summer?
Oh, for sure. That would be a dream as well, to add on to the dream I'm living. Yes. Okay.
All right. So we should talk about that offline, and particularly not that I know all these great people, but I know a few people. And sometimes you just need an introduction to say, hey, check this guy out, and then you go play with them at their home or whatever, and then you see where it goes, just you make connections. I think that what I'm learning, it's kind of like a business thing too, is if you're open yourself to opportunities and don't say no to a lot of things and kind of see where it goes, and particularly network actively, not passively, meaning look to, like we're doing now, right? This is kind of a networking thing, getting your name out, but looking for those opportunities to say, oh, this might be a good way that I can help somebody like you've done, okay, or a good opportunity for me to play, in something different. I think that's the way to go. That's the old man giving the young man advice. How do you like that?
I love it. It's nice.
So let's do this. Let's take another little quick break, and then when we come back, let's talk about the third song you brought to the table, and we'll go from there. All right, brother?
All right, brother.
All right. Hang with us, everybody. More to come. Hi, Steve Yusko from Gig Destiny here. Well, as you're probably listening to this podcast, you're probably thinking about that musician who would make a fantastic guest here on the Long Island Sound. Well, we'd like to hear their story. We'd like to hear their music. So have them reach out to us at gigdestiny.com and we'll explore their craft. Now, back to our podcast. Hey, everybody. We're back with Tyler Ransom after that short break. And I was joking about my crystal ball, but I wasn't joking about my crystal ball because I think Tyler is really got a star that is really rising. So I really appreciate, Tyler, you giving me the time through your studies, and I hope I'm not pulling you away from your guitar practice. But I really want to touch on, because I think it's interesting how things have changed in the music industry. When I was a kid, everybody came out with an album, and we ate the album up, the vinyl, till the needle wore out on the record player. But now it's kind of changed. People still come out with albums, but a lot of the younger artists and a lot of the newer artists are doing EPs, 3 to 5 songs, that sort of thing. And then I've seen, and I had the Como brothers, who you got to meet these guys. They're great. They're like the Everly brothers. They put out 2 songs a month, and they're consistent with doing their social media to a point that YouTube's now paying them per reel, 30-second reel that they pull out. Yeah, because now they're influencers, which is kooky. I mean, it's great because there aren't many income stream. This is an odd statement, but streaming your music is not going to make you thousands and thousands unless you freaking hit it or somebody takes your song or something happens. Really, it's the gigging stuff seems to be the way that artists are making money early on, or selling merch, which is another weird thing. But tell me about your social media experience with your career and your songwriting and that sort of thing. How do you do it? What do you do?
So I started off, I just post guitar clips just nonstop, and it honestly took me about a year to realize, oh wait, I should focus on the quality, not the quantity. This whole time I thought if I have a bunch of guitar videos, it gives people a lot to look at. So I scrapped everything, and then I started doing, like maybe 1 post per week. And then I realized what was getting traction were the songs that I was actually passionate about, that I was covering. So I began to be like, okay, so people like when they can tell that I enjoy it. So then I just started honing out different songs I like, different phrasing that felt true to me. Okay. And then it was just trusting the music, trusting that the people that have begun to listen to your music will tell their friends about it and things like that. And that's sort of how I got my guitar page, Soulful Playing, to over 3.5 thousand followers.
What? How many?
3,500.
You're gonna be. Oh, you got to do the theme song to the Long Island Sound podcast then. I mean, we got a partnership going here. I'm going to ride your coattails, brother, as best I can. I'm kidding.
Of course, but
that's great. Which platform, by the way, do you have a primary platform? Or are you doing it on TikTok and Instagram? And so, what's your preference, or maybe you don't have?
It was Instagram. I mean, it still continues to be Instagram. It's Soulful Playing. It's my guitar account that I post me playing guitar on, and it's taken me it's been over 6 years now, but those are all the followers I have, and it's like a strong community because we all like the same music, and I just bring something else to the table. And it took me a while to find I don't want to say what niche is best to me, but it took me a while to figure out what people gravitate towards that I also gravitate towards, and how to be the voice in that rather than the follower. Okay. And that's something I continue to do.
Yeah, that's what's interesting about, and particularly podcasting too. It's a very niche-y thing. You don't want to be all things to all people, but finding your voice in social media that builds community. And you actually started out early with the YouTube videos a long time ago, with the MMA stuff. So interesting. If there was a tie-in that built community that bridged off into your music when you bridged off into music. So that's, you built a brand really at 21. It's pretty cool, So let's do this. Let's talk about Teaspoon, the next song our audience is going to hear. Tell us a little bit about that, and we'll have the audience hear the song.
Once again, it came out from me playing guitar and just being like, what is speaking to me right now?
Mm-hmm.
I think a common denominator you'll find with, I guess, all my songs is the guitar is the guiding light in all of it. You know, I'm following where the guitar takes me. And the guitar solo I feel in this one, this was the first time I was like, let me actually breathe in this, you know. Let me breathe in this guitar solo. I can't just keep like hammering down licks. The listener's going to be like crying. But let me just be me. Let me just do what feels right to me. And I feel like the song is my backseat. It's my chill song. You know, after a whole day of playing jazz, this is the song I go back to and sometimes just play for myself. And I'm like, I'm a writer. I did this.
Excellent. All right, let's take a listen to Teaspoon, and we'll be back with Tyler Ransom. Check it out, everyone.
And I saw you. Oh yeah, it's true. And I waited for you. And I know that it's too late right now. But I hope I catch sight of you.
Hey, everybody. We are back with Tyler Ransom. And I got to tell everybody this. We just hit the tip of the iceberg with Tyler Ransom and your story. I encourage everybody to see the documentary on you. That's the first thing. That's the next thing that I'm going to watch. And I'm going to actually look at your Instagram stuff too. I want to see you noodle around to see what you're doing. And, you know, what's interesting in you going through school and attacking social media and getting your name out there and stuff like that. That's the way to do it these days. And I think it's great, but I really want to thank you for your time today and for sharing your art and us talking about music and getting into things. I would love to have you back, Tyler, you know, when you're done with your studies, because I'm going to be accused of, you know, I failed this because I was podcasting. But I'd love to have you back because I think there's so much more to explore with what you're doing. And I really want to thank you for being here.
Of course, Steve. Thank you for having me. You're a very refreshing host.
Thanks a lot. And hey, I'm working with an introvert. He did pretty good. So it's all good, Tyler. I wish you all the best. And till next time, peace, everybody.
Peace and love.
Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the time you spent with us. Please subscribe and comment and visit us at gigdestiny.com. Till next time, be generous with your joy, keep your spirits high, and let the music take you on a journey. Be well. Peace.